Your self-worth can't come from external factors. You can't want the numbers, the growth to define your self-worth. You need to know yourself and what you stand for and what your mission is, because often our subconscious is driving our decisions, and unless you can raise your awareness, you will be limited and unable to achieve your dreams.
Today, I'm really honored to invite Celine Ivari, the founder and CEO of WholyMe.
If you're someone who is seeking external validation in order to feel worthy of your cause, then you will burn out.
Celine is passionate about helping people reconnect to their bodies, reduce stress, and experience care as a daily, transformative act. She's currently building WholyMe into a globally trusted brand and shaping the future of wellness through thoughtful leadership and innovation.
You have to care for yourself and listen to your body's needs and alarm systems in order to care for others in an authentic way. Otherwise, you're already depleted and you can't show up authentically. It starts with you, but it ripples far beyond measure.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. Today I'm really honored to invite Celine Ivari, the founder and CEO of WholyMe, to the podcast. WholyMe is a wellness brand leading the way in evidence-based self-care remedies rooted in the power of deep and intentional care. She has a background in human biology and the genetics of human disease, with early experience in the pharmaceutical industry. She also brings a sharp scientific lens to holistic health. Celine is passionate about helping people reconnect to their bodies, reduce stress, and experience care as a daily, transformative act. She's currently building WholyMe into a globally trusted brand and shaping the future of wellness through thoughtful leadership and innovation. So let's welcome onto the show, Celine Ivari.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
It's great to have you here in London. And we met at Summit, right?
Summit at Sea.
Summit at Sea.
It was about a year ago.
Seems like a lifetime ago. That was the first one. Was it the first one after COVID?
It was the first one after COVID, I think so. No, second one after COVID.
Second one, COVID, yeah.
I was off Miami, far from here.
You were doing a self-care routine on the boat?
I don't know that that's where we met. I think it was actually, you know what, at a talk. Was it like Mark Hyman or someone?
Oh, right. Actually, it was the CPG talk.
Ah, you're right. It was the CPG gathering.
get-together.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That was one.
I seem to remember there were a lot of attractive people at the CPG get-together. Not sure what the correlation is.
In general.
Weren't so many on the Impact get-together. Anyway, so thank you for joining the show. Of course, you're the CEO and founder of WholyMe.
Thank you for having me here.
But you also have an incredible story, and I think your products are really, shining a path for the self-care industry. So, tell us a little bit about your background first before we go into how you set up WholyMe.
My background, so I'm a scientist. I studied genetics of human disease and human biology. I then worked at the Institute of Healthy Aging for a little while and in the pharmaceutical space in medical education. And then I set up a hair loss clinic with my mother and my sisters in London.
Why did you not tell me this before? Might have come in handy.
And then I left that to do WholyMe.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're British?
Oh, no, you mean my origins. I'm originally Persian, Iranian,
right.
Born in France. Also lived in the U.S. I'm also American, so I'm like a citizen of the world, a third culture child.
Third culture kid. And I mean, clearly, scientist background, you studied specifically the genetics of human disease.
Yeah.
And did you actually practice that when you came out of university?
I didn't. I went on to work in the pharmaceutical industry and medical education.
Any pharmaceutical industry? Any particular company?
Helped companies like Takeda and Pfizer launching new medicine.
Right. It wasn't the blue packet version of Pfizer?
No.
Interesting. But you were working in hair loss, so I mean, yeah, close, but not quite. So you tell us about how you founded WholyMe after working in the pharmaceutical industry.
So my reason for starting WholyMe actually stems from deeply personal reasons, and looking back with perspective, I think it started very, very young. So I was 10 years old when I started really taking on the role of being a caregiver. My mother, who's this powerhouse of a woman, very entrepreneurial, has 5 daughters, always spinning 100 plates, always doing everything, powering through, building, smiling, always looking wonderful. She suffered from an inflammatory autoimmune condition when I was 10 that was very painful. And I witnessed really young what a stressful environment can do to your health. And I took on the role of being a caregiver because I wanted to help her manage her aches and pains at that time. And that sort of became a thing. I also looked after both my grandmothers before they passed. Um, I myself struggled from a herniated, dislocated disc in my lower back as a teenager, which was extremely painful and debilitating. And all these experiences, even looking after myself more holistically, looking after my mother more holistically, it really triggered a curiosity about the human body's abilities and vulnerabilities. And that's actually why I went on to study sciences to better understand. And then I went on to set up the hair loss clinic, really, again, to be supportive as my mother was making big changes in her life. And that is her area of expertise. So my sisters and I wanted to support her in her big life changes at the time. So we set up the hair loss clinic in London. And it's only once that was running and, I took a step back and realized that actually at my core, I am a caregiver and I want to caregive at scale. And so WholyMe's mission is to share the power of care because I witnessed so young just how disconnected we are from our body's alarm systems, how disconnected we are from each other, how disconnected we are from the planet. And the reality is to authentically care for anybody, you have to start with you. And our bodies are constantly talking to us through alarm systems, pain, stress, tension. It's just your body's way of trying to talk to you. And so we need a much more thoughtful and caring way to address them because currently people are either ignoring these alarm systems until their body screams or turning to medical solutions for things that are lifestyle inherent. And I felt like we could do better. So that's where WholyMe comes from.
It's interesting you mentioned hair loss. Your mother was also a scientist?
Yes.
Yes. So how did your sort of ethnic background or your cultural roots inform you as an entrepreneur, inform your upbringing to become an entrepreneur?
Such a good question.
Because I mean, without wanting to generalize, I mean, a lot of very impressive Iranian descended, especially female Iranian women. It's like, it seems to be, they can have, I don't know if we can say this, but they're, glamorous, beautiful, smart, intelligent, sensitive, all those things, and strong, right? Again, I don't know if we can put that in the bus, but just feeding you that.
I think it's fine. Thank you. I think that's a really interesting question. And just reflecting on this, I think it's had a massive impact on who I am, both culturally and also just my upbringing in general. I'm one of 5 girls. My mother is very entrepreneurial, but I think that the way it's impacted me now is there's been so much I've had to unlearn from our culture and from our upbringing. Because what I've been demonstrated is really, in my household, it's been a lot of powering through, making things happen, perseverance, performance, all is good, everything's fine, which gives you a lot of strength and grit, which is great. But it's also, it's actually not deep care. I mean, what I've had to learn and relearn is what actually is deep care. Because, there's something that looks caring and there's something that is deep, authentic care, right? And even culturally, Persians, we're hosts by nature. So we love to make other people feel comfortable and welcomed. There's a word in Farsi that's taruf. Taruf is literally like a word that is an umbrella for so much etiquette in Iran. And it's all about the other. No one will ever have the last piece of anything. Anything that we offer you, you should first say no. Like, it's really, people have to insist before you receive. If someone compliments something that is yours, you should offer it to them. So it looks very giving and thoughtful and beautiful, but actually it isn't authentically caring, because it teaches you to not have any needs, to not express any needs. It doesn't teach you to receive. And so, it's excessive giving, and I think
It's a fake almost.
it,
It's not authentic.
it's not authentic in that authentic care, what I've had to learn is it's a perfect flow of giving and receiving. Your cup has to be full in order for you to give authentically without depleting, self-abandoning, or any of that. So for you to give from a place of overflow and authenticity, you actually need to also know how to receive. And so I've actually had to unlearn that this sort of self-abandonment, lack of needs, not expressing your needs, not receiving, overgiving, like neurotic caregiving is not caring. And what actual care is, it's something I've had to learn by undoing a lot of cultural programming and upbringing that I've had, if that makes sense.
And we all know about the sort of neurotic, overcaring mother archetype. And this is important because it comes into how you as a female leader and founder operate within the workplace and in your company. We'll come back to that later, but yeah, no, it's an interesting insight. So thank you. What about your father? What influence did he have?
We're going deep.
Yeah, you might as well.
Oh, might as well. You'll edit how you see fit. My father is also extremely entrepreneurial. So I think I've learned a lot about entrepreneurship through my parents. I think I very young knew I was going to have my own company, and that wasn't like an alien concept for me. Actually, probably being an employee somewhere is an alien concept for my family, because that's just not what they've ever done. So they've taught me a lot about going after what you want, making things a reality in the world, pursuing your dreams, making things happen, which is wonderful. But my relationship with my father is something I've only addressed recently. I wasn't very close to him. I don't think we understood each other, and I don't think we've ever gone into it. And actually, this year is the first time I had a heart-to-heart conversation with my father, the first time in my life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, where I actually, was vulnerable and honest about what my experience was. And that's been really pivotal. I think, I'll just share this with you since you ask, but I think oftentimes in life, people will tell you, you really should address this. You should have a conversation with your father. You should explore this. And you're like, I'm a perfectly functioning human being. I don't need to. But you don't know what you don't know, especially if it's something that you're born with. So if you're born with a bag and you've never put it down, you don't know what it's like not to have this weight on, right? And it's not until I've actually had this conversation with my father that it's almost like it opened up my heart in a way that I didn't expect. It's not even about how it's received. It's not about what happens after. It's about bringing things to your awareness, sharing vulnerably, and allowing things to move through you and not just suppress them. I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you for being vulnerable. I mean,
Yeah.
It's quite a common theme for a lot of women with their fathers, especially in certain cultures where it's very male-dominated kind of culture. Again, not to generalize, but, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. I mean, my poor father is also surrounded by 5 daughters and a very powerful, my mother, they're not together anymore, but, he was very outnumbered.
Fair enough. Like to meet him. But he was Persian too.
Both my parents are Iranian,
Okay,
yes.
cool. Right. And so you came out of college. You worked for the pharmaceutical. You worked for the hair loss clinic. what was the sort of, you know, like crystal moment where you're like, I'm gonna go and do a startup by
Oh
myself?
God. So I launched the hair loss clinic with my mother. It was really to support her. And in that big transition period in her life, her autoimmune condition that she had when I was 10, but had been dormant for well over a decade, came back with a vengeance. And so I went back into caregiving mode and really taking this holistic approach to her health was really helping her. And then she went back into remission, and the clinic was doing well, and she was doing well, and everything sort of was running smoothly at this point. And I didn't feel like she needed me maybe as much as I thought she did when I started
Mm.
the clinic with her. And a lot of other things happened in that period in my life. I was in a very long relationship that wasn't working out. And I just remember reaching a point of feeling sort of looking around me and being like, okay, I felt like I lived to help and care for my family a lot. And everyone was pretty much in a good place. And I was like, okay, outside of being everyone's caregiver and outside of being who everybody else needs me to be, who am I? What do I want to do with my one precious life? And really sitting with that made me realize that actually I am a caregiver and I want to caregive at scale. And I want to really redefine what care is because I think care has been completely misunderstood and is often used as a word that's used for as a mask for a lot of other things like self-abandonment, like control. And I think, the fuel that feeds our human existence is caring for each other.
Mm.
And it starts with you. You have to care for yourself and listen to your body's needs and alarm systems in order to care for others in an authentic way. Otherwise, you're already depleted and you can't show up authentically, right? So it starts with you, but it ripples far beyond
Mm.
measure. So I think really starting in this moment of, okay, I'm done rescuing, I'm done living for others, and actually thinking about what my own needs are made me realize that that's my calling in life. And it made me feel like everything that had happened to me since I'm 10 years old lined up to this, and that this is my calling in life. And that's why I started WholyMe. So it was very much of an aha moment.
Beautiful. So you just described the sort of deep philosophy behind the
Yes.
brand.
Yeah.
What is what sets it apart technically, if you like, from an actual product point of view? Like, it's a saturated market. There's a lot of products out there. Why does your brand like do better
Sure,
for those people that buy it?
So we're very focused on body relief, so muscle, joint health, etc. So we're quite specific for that. So we have balms, bath salts, body oils, patches. And what really sets us apart on a product-based level is a deep, uncompromising obsession for quality. And so having a scientist as the founder, I formulate everything myself.
Mm.
And so
Really?
yeah.
So you're like in the lab going,
Yeah.
this is what we want.
Yeah.
This is ready to go. Ship
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's
Do you wear a white jacket?
I do. A lab coat.
Oh.
And so I formulate all the products myself, and it means I check every single ingredient, the evidence behind them, what supports their relieving, anti-inflammatory, soothing properties, and we use no diluters, no synthetics, absolutely nothing unnecessary. So unless there's evidence to back its efficacy, we don't use it. And we formulate the products, we clinically test them under clinical settings supervised by a doctor over a 4-week period, where we test the efficacy of the products for whatever it is we're trying to relieve. So we also back the actual formulation. So like I said, the ingredients have evidence. The formula that I've put together is then tested. And beyond that, when I say obsession for quality, we have full control over our supply chain, which means we source every single ingredient ourselves. So like if you take our balm, which is our hero product, as an example, it has 12 botanicals within it. And every single one of them is sourced directly by us. And I check all the molecular profiles for every single ingredient. So, for example, just taking a random one, but the balm has wintergreen. Wintergreen is really rich in methyl salicylate, which is a renowned anti-inflammatory that works really well topically, right? And like you can buy that as medicine. It's just we're going to the source, the plant. And so making sure that the molecular profiles are really rich in the compounds that we're most interested in. So there's a lot of research and obsession for quality that comes with what we do. I have partners that are in Provence. A lot of the botanicals are wild grown, so we pick them. They have a patented way of distilling the botanicals so that the bioavailability of the products are really pure and potent, because it's done in a very gentle way. So you're not overheating and compromising the quality during extraction. So, and we have a lot of checks along the way to make sure that the ingredients are exactly what we expect them to be. So I think really I could go so much longer about the details, but really what sets us apart is this deep care in everything that we do, from not only what we stand for, but how we produce the partners that we have, how we source. Everything is certified by the Soul Association as organic or natural, which means we're audited. Our full supply chain is audited by these accreditations. So it's a real obsession for quality and being uncompromising, and a founder that actually knows what she's doing. Because I think a lot of people that go in this industry, they go because, they have a mission and a desire to do something, or maybe they've heard of an ingredient and want to jump onto the buzzword and create a brand that they're just going to sell, right? And so they go to a lab and say, I want this product with this ingredient, you formulate them. So if you go in any grocery store or pharmacy and look at the back of pack of a lot of formulas in the market within the cosmeceutical space, you'll see that actually a lot of the formulations are the same, up minus, plus or minus a few ingredients. Ours are really, really special, and that's because they're formulated by me directly.
I heard a great quote recently. I can't remember who said it, but she said, "Don't put anything on your body unless you're willing to eat it." Referring to how porous our skin is, and this, like basically we're putting all this stuff on our skin. How does that resonate with you, and how true do you think that is? I'll eat your product.
Well, I think some things are very healthy, and our skin is like the largest organ in our body, and the pores are very different to your digestive system. The acidity on your skin is different to your digestive system. So, I don't know that I would say that is totally true, because some ingredients are very good for you and healthy and have scientific backing as anti-inflammatory properties or soothing or relieving that maybe wouldn't be great ingested. You can't like take a spoon of wintergreen, but you could put it on your body. It's different.
It's different. So you formulated this brand as a response to your belief, or your idea that you can scale caring. And this all came from you caring for your mother for her autoimmune issues. So just going back to that, there is a lot of controversy or discussion about what exactly autoimmune is. So for those of the audience who don't quite understand, maybe you can explain what you think autoimmune diseases are.
I mean, it's simply when your immune system is not functioning as it should, right? So you can have your body can believe that your joints are foreign and not act normally and over be an overactive immune response to something that's actually normal in your body.
But then there's no real consensus of why it's triggered. Sometimes it's
There
quite
can be so many reasons. Some things can be genetic, some things can be viral, some things can be chronic. It depends how long it lasts. And it can be, it can be environmental, of course, as well. Yeah.
Was there any specific sharings you can talk about with your mother? Was there any particular?
Look, I think the reality is for my mother, we did do tests and she doesn't carry the gene, so it's not genetic. And there is a reality that she had a very stressful lifestyle, and
so stress being a key.
Stress is key, but we know this. Yeah. We know stress induces stress response, in your body, which increases inflammatory markers. We know that when someone suffers grief, it often triggers if they have like an autoimmune condition, it can awaken the condition if you suffer grief. Like, we know that stress and your environment has an impact on your predisposition to conditions, your odds of recovery, your actual conditions. This is a well-known and accepted fact.
And also your brand tackles pain, joint issues.
So this is a really interesting space. I think we're really focused on self-care and muscle and joint health. Not necessarily like autoimmune conditions, injury. It's not really our area. We're more on the like wellness space.
So can you just define that for the audience then? Because I guess people get slightly confused. So wellness as in more longevity?
Sure, yeah. Protecting your mobility, protecting the integrity of your muscles and joints, supporting your recovery after intensive exercise, supporting your rest, supporting your stress. When I say wellness, incorporating self-care practices where you acknowledge any aches, pain, areas of tension, which are only your body's way of communicating with you, and addressing those in a really thoughtful way, which is quite different to being in like the chronic pain space or chronic condition space or injury space. It's a little bit different. And there's also like a compliance to this.
So you're now retailing in, I believe, Boots. Is that right?
We're nationwide in the UK, so we're in 2,000 retailers. We're with Boots. We're also with Holland and Barrett. We're also in more high-end places like Harrods, John Bell and Croydon, and a variety of studios and spas. Amazing.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge of, say, getting a concept out there onto the stores? Because it's a super crowded space. It's incredible that you are nationwide in all those different stores. It's quite a journey to get there already.
Yeah.
What's the sort of next, evolution of the brand to get to a wider audience? Well, what are the challenges that have been to this day, and then what do you face?
I think what I've really focused on since the beginning of WholyMe, and therefore it can be like a slower, more challenging process when you're a mission-driven brand and you're really going for a calling and you're not just trying to like shove a bunch of marketing, branding, and like focusing on building a brand, but you're actually trying to respond to a need and you're really serving a problem you believe that can be served better. It is a slower process than, say, I want to do a big brand and raise a bunch of capital and spend a lot of money on marketing and branding and being a trendy brand. When you opt for what I did, it's much slower. So I didn't raise a bunch of capital. I was really, really keen on knowing that what I put out in the market is truly effective, something I am proud to stand next to, but it takes time because it's really focused on efficacy rather than anything else. But I'm proud to say that through that resilience and staying the course, we really have demonstrated that our product is effective. And for me, it's been the efficacy of our products that has brought us up to this point, right? Because I didn't actually spend very much on marketing ever. And so it's all been, me when we started going door to door to small independent pharmacies during COVID to have them try our products and see if it sells. And, they sold, I had like 10, and then I had 20, and then I had 30. And I would go to like the end of triathlons in the middle of nowhere in the UK, with like a foldable table, my salts and my balm, and I'd spend Saturdays and Sundays, morning to evening, come rain, cold, shivering, waiting for people to come through their finish line and sell my products individually, one by one, and getting people's real life feedback, comments, questions taught me so much about, the need, what made them go from like, I don't want to talk to anybody, let alone a brand I've never heard of, to me saying something that made them go, I've never tried your products, but I want to buy everything you make forever. Like,
And
what
you
is
were there
it?
selling it
What is,
yourself,
yes.
the
And
real founder's
for
journey.
so long, I did everything myself for so long. It's been a solo journey for a really long time. And it was through that and then going out and meeting people that we built that network of like small independents, collecting the feedback, getting our first users has been through that. I didn't actually do like, I don't have, even today, I don't have a huge following on social media. It's tiny, right? But you still, and when I started, people were like, you're not going to be able to get into the likes of Boots and Holland and Barrett if you don't have the community to drive to those stores. Why would they give up precious retail space for a brand that doesn't have a community craving it? And I'm so grateful that I didn't listen. I really like stood my ground, and I found the right category buyers, and I pitched the products and they tried them. And honestly, the way we got into Boots is the buyer had a hip ache or pain. The balm really helped her, and she was like, we absolutely need this in our stores. This is an effective product, which for me, Holland and Barrett, I'm so delighted to be in, and it's an amazing brand, very aligned with us, but we're a natural product in a natural product store. And again, we got in because we're effective. Boots is a pharmaceutical, right? It's a pharmaceutical that puts efficacy at all costs, not natural at all costs. So for them to say we absolutely need WholyMe was such an endorsement of the efficacy of our remedies. And so for us, it's been that. It's been really focusing on the efficacy, staying the course, which means it's been a longer process, but one we're really proud to have products that work. And now, and only now, that I feel like I've really demonstrated the efficacy of the remedies and the need for what we're putting out in the market, I'm really changing and like investing in making the brand nicer and expanding our product offering and wanting to geographically expand from this point on.
I'm just going to sense check you there. You said Boots is a pharmaceutical. Is that what you meant?
It is.
Boots is a pharmaceutical.
It's a pharmacy.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you're right, because I mean, I also have an agency. We work with lots of CPG brands, and really the market thinking really is that unless you have some sort of big influencer or celebrity helping you out, it's going to be hard to gain traction because the cost of acquisition for customers now is so great. So you're saying you managed to kind of subvert or go around that by just having a great product that does the job.
Focusing on making sure you have a product that works first, and then, taking it to the right people and getting your distribution right, going where people need. It's very specific when it comes to muscle and joint health or recovery, because it's usually something you're going to want a solution for right now and not tomorrow. So you're much more likely to go to your local health store, pharmacy, etc., and ask for advice for this kind of product versus look for it online. So for me, it made sense to do it this way.
Have you ever faced pressure to compromise on your values? You seem a very purpose-driven kind of business leader, but have you ever faced that challenge of having to compromise on your values?
I think you always face these moments of challenge of, you could bring the price down if you compromised on a single ingredient, but it's never been how I function. I've always gone for, let me get the formula that I want in my mind as the ideal formula that I want to bring out to the market, and then work from there, versus this is the price I want it at, given what's out there in the market, and then tweak my formula to fit what the price, which would be more palatable, is. That does mean, the consequence of that is maybe my balm is more expensive than a lot of your muscle and joint balms out there in the market. But it's because I really chose to stick to the quality and didn't want to compromise on that, and I still haven't.
Have there ever been times where you felt that it was just too hard and you wanted to give up? And how do you cultivate resilience?
You know what? There was a time where everything was really, really hard. Really, really hard. And I remember feeling like I wanted to sleep all the time. I was exhausted. I was really burnt out. And I remember everyone around me being like, how long are you going to carry this on for? Um, a lot of my investors were like, we're going to sit on the sidelines and see how this goes. And it was a really, really challenging time. And I think it's also when I learned probably my biggest lesson, which is that your resilience, your self-worth can't come from external factors. You can't want the numbers, the growth, the performance to define your self-worth. You need to know yourself and what you stand for and what your mission is. And when you have that as a solid basis, it will carry you through the hard times. But if you're someone who is seeking external validation in order to feel worthy of your cause, then you will burn out. So that was a really tough lesson, but it did force me to take a really hard look at myself and think, if I have a product that is needed, a formula that works, the only limiting factor is me. And how am I standing in my own way? And that's when I started doing a huge amount of introspection and growth work. And it's developed me as a leader, as a founder, as a person, as a friend, as an everything, really. So it's been hugely valuable. And I remember when I was going through that low, I wrote myself a letter that was an agreement with myself. And I said, okay, I was really tough on myself. I was like, okay, you've been at this for X amount of years. You have no significant growth. You don't have a team. You're running out of capital. How long are you going to carry this on for? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give you one more year. And if you don't have at least 2 major accounts secured, if you don't have at least 2 new team members, if you don't have X amount of capital raised, if you're not generating X amount per month within this window, then it's time to close shop. And in 6 months, I went on my calendar, I put a year from the date I wrote my letter and a 6 months check-in, because I also knew that when that year was up, it meant I have to stop, which meant in 6 months, if there was no progress, I needed to figure out how I would stop and figure out my life, because I needed to figure out my life if this didn't work out. And somehow giving myself this deadline when deep in my soul, I knew this is my calling and my cause, just made me take much bigger risks and set me on fire. And within 3 months, I hired the team. I raised capital. I won Boots, Holland & Barrett, Whole Foods, Harrods, all the big accounts. And everything turned around well before the year was up. And it was well beyond what I had written in my letter.
Professional manifester. But the secret is not to have an attachment. So I guess when you say, if this doesn't happen by this time, then you've kind of detached from it.
It's right.
Like you've kind of rationalized it in this time frame. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to get too upset.
That's right. That's right.
In a way, yeah. Interesting. And have you ever faced any discrimination? I mean, there are lots of female founders now, but we have the Elizabeth Holmes, Thanos story, biopic, you name it, Netflix documentary if it was one. Or do you think that set women back in science, or has it had any effect on you? in scientific startups or startups addressing scientific?
I don't think so. I think there's been a lot. I don't think it's like women specifically. I think there's been a lot of startups that have founders that have gone with the model of like fake it till you make it, and it's caused a lot of problems. And I mean, problems are actually, bottom line, it's actually been fruitful, and that I think a lot more investors are learning to be far more discerning, to do their due diligence, to not just be like, oh, this investor is on board, therefore I'm on board, and to actually do their research and know what they're backing in a more serious way. I think that's not just for female founders. I think there's been many cases of fraudulent companies, and
You saying that men committed fraud? I
as
don't
well
believe.
as well. So I think it's just caused more caution within the investor space, and I think that's a good thing because consumers need people to know what they're investing in and what they're backing, and we all need to be able to trust what's out there in the market. So I think the sermon's great.
Your product's based on natural, organic.
Yes.
The premise of that, and there's a big debate about whether pharmaceuticals are bad, natural's good, or the other way around, or is there a balance? What's your take on the pharmaceutical industry?
I am not at all like opposed to pharmaceuticals. What I find challenging in my experience in this space, and actually really upsetting, I think medicine is amazing and it's helped us super significantly, and I'm very grateful for our scientific breakthroughs as a whole. What is really upsetting is when you know that they're using their powers not for good, right? When it's manipulative and it's in the interest of brainwashing people, all financially incentivized. That's really upsetting. I think, for instance, the word pain, the pharmaceutical industry has taken ownership of that word. But pain is not a medical condition. Pain is a way for your body. It's a language. It's your body's language. It's your body's way of being like, hey, I need you to pay attention to me. And the pharmaceutical industry has taken over that word and said, no, this is a medical word. And so nobody else is allowed to use it, which I think confuses the users, right? And so people who have pain are turning to medical solutions because they're the only ones that are allowed to say this will relieve your pain. And it's readily available. It's over the counter. So people are turning to medical solutions for things that are lifestyle inherent to numb, suppress, power through. And your primary reason for chronic liver failure in the UK is paracetamol use. In the US, it's Tylenol
Wait, is that really?
use. So it's a big and massive burden. And, post-COVID, people are living sedentary lifestyles a lot more, sitting down, usually, working from home, not equipped to work from home. And so you have a massive growth in musculoskeletal aches and pains, and many more people turning to the wrong, pharmaceutical solutions for things that are not medical problems. So I think what is upsetting is when people use their power for the wrong causes. I think, if everyone can focus on doing good in the world, it would be better. And so that's where I think it's a bit tricky. But to also answer your question, I think we're also seeing a very, very different consumer today. I'm dealing with a very different consumer today than when I started, right? I think that with COVID, people grew really skeptical of their doctors' advice. People have a lot more access to information. There's a lot more influence through social media, etc. So people are far more educated, and people are reading the backs of pack more. And there is a shift in consumer behavior that is driven by consumer demand and self-education. So I think I'm much more today responding to a need. Whereas before I had to, when I started WholyMe, I had to shift consumer behavior, which is far more difficult, right?
Do you believe there's a general distrust of medical information now, that people don't trust their doctors, people don't trust what they read online. There's so many opinions online. Everyone's an expert on TikTok. What are the trends that you've sort of picked up on?
I think that the growing skepticism is healthy because it makes people take more ownership of their own health and well-being and do their own research and understand their bodies better, which I think is crucial. Whereas before you would just say, the doctor said, and I know nothing. And now people are far more skeptical and therefore doing their own research, which I think is great. And you asked another question.
In the sense that so much has changed since COVID, and
So much has
there's a
changed.
massive shift for so many industries. But generally, it was the anti-vax movement in COVID, the distrust of the medical information, which was take vaccines. That kind of was the big story.
Yeah.
And then since then, you see this. I mean, we can't talk globally, but certainly in the UK, more and more people are going to telehealth, now AI advice, which is the next question I had for you, was just this general distrust in government-backed science or medical information and going to alternative sources such as AI.
I think it's a super interesting and exciting space now, right? Because with the skepticism, this drive and we're actually getting skeptical of the doctor's advice and we demand to understand things better. It's also driving the industry to do better, to deliver better, right? To be more transparent on pack, to be more transparent over how things are produced. How are they good for the planet? How are they good for your health? Where are you sourcing from? Why are you doing what you're doing? People are demanding more, which means, we have to respond to the demand. And I think that's a really positive shift. And then I think there's also a shift really around the longevity space. And that also comes with, a generation that really puts health as a priority in their lives, and shifting from dealing with symptoms and diseases and conditions to how do I prevent that in my life? How do I make sure I live healthier longer? How do I add, comfortable years to my life? And all of that is driving the research and the self-care practices. And I think we're starting to see at least some shift from this performance, instant gratification. We're seeing a shift in people's behavior towards actually, I want to live healthier longer. And that shifts everything from the way people are working, from the way people are consuming. And I think that's really positive.
It's remarkable when you hear that in the pharmaceutical industry, a drug that is successful 30% of the time is considered a successful drug. The third most common form of death in the US is misdiagnosed medicine. It's almost crazy that we put up with this kind of industry, if you like. Why does this persist? Why hasn't the industry changed?
I think this is where the longevity space is super interesting. I think diagnostics is the biggest problem that we have, misdiagnosing or diagnosing too late, because often we actually have treatments. It's just that we catch things too late. And this space that is really encouraging people to have their health checks more often and access that information and hold that information, that it doesn't just sit with your doctor, that you have the knowledge of your own body, and you have so many more health tracking tools and devices, which there's pros and cons to everything, but means there is a shift in that people are being far more discerning and aware of their own health. Whereas that used to be something you very much had no awareness of. And now there is much more desire to understand where my body is at now.
Yeah, traditionally you would outsource all your health needs, basically. And now everyone's taking a bit more control. I mean, I have my Aura Ring, my Apple Watch, not on today. Do you use any wearables?
You know what? I don't. I don't.
Natural.
And I think that there's a lot of pros for them. My take, though, is again, we are so disconnected from our own
No, I'm
selves.
connected now. I've got the aura.
We're so disconnected from our body's natural alarm systems that we are now creating devices to tell us how we feel, how we sleep, how how stressed we are, how we've recovered. And I think it's interesting because in a way it's useful, but in a way it's another tool that is disconnecting you from how your body is trying to communicate with you. And actually, it is important to pause and be still and just feel what your body is trying to tell you. That is a very important tool that we have within ourselves. And we're constantly creating tools that disconnect us further. Because sometimes you're going to wake up feeling fine, but your Oura ring is going to tell you haven't slept enough. And suddenly you're like, well, actually, I'm tired. And so you're actually getting more and more disconnected. And so I think it's really important to put everything aside and listen to your own self.
Do you drink coffee?
I do drink coffee, but I'm more of a nootropic or matcha drinker, but sometimes I still have my coffee.
Where do you see the wellness industry evolving in the next 5 years? And how does WholyMe play a role in that, in an ideal world? Or you can separate that to two questions.
Yeah.
Where do you see the wellness and longevity industry going in the next 5 years? Like, what are we going to be doing in 5 years' time? What's going to be front of mind?
I think we continue to evolve in this self-care, diagnostic, longevity space, protecting our health versus trying to fix it when it's damaged. I think this will very much continue. You'll see even more clinics, maybe more affordable clinics, so more people can leverage that. I think their access to our health information and tools to understand what these means will become more and more available. And I think that there will be a lot more personalized tools as well. Personalized health.
Do you think that the industry is going in the right direction?
I mean, I think it's a super exciting time. Yeah, I really do like the shifts that we're seeing towards more conscious health, protective versus, fixing.
And where do you see WholyMe in 5 years' time? Ideally, on your vision board.
On my vision board, I see WholyMe being the go-to brand when it comes to self-care and muscle and joint health protection, etc. I really see us being a global brand, a staple brand, but also a brand that serves more than the products. It serves as a reminder to take care of yourself so that you can care for others in a more authentic way. I really see us building that movement towards deeper care that's authentic.
How does that apply to you as a leader in your company? Are you one of these people who's like, burning the midnight candle on both sides? Or are you like, guys, I need to take some self-care time and you deal with it?
I think it's really important to practice what you preach. I can't say that I always have. I still, like I said, over the years had to do a lot of releasing programming that I've been raised with, which has been a lot of like grit, power through, blah, 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 which now I don't do at all anymore. I think, the team, the culture that I'm creating is a deeply caring culture. So it's also how we care for each other as team members. I know how everyone's doing. And it actually is so much better for the efficacy of the team. Everyone is so much more efficient because everyone feels cared for. Yeah. Everyone really wants to be here because they feel deeply cared for, right. And the results are better as a result. Yeah. So it's been really powerful to witness that actually making sure people have space, have time, aren't working like crazy, aren't burning out is far better for the business.
As a female leader, how do you make your decisions? Are you more intuitive led? Are you more analytical?
It's a funny question as a female leader versus just as a leader.
It's better to be provocative.
As a leader,
Let me rephrase that. As a CEO and leader, and as a CEO and founder, how do you make decisions?
I'm a lot conviction-based, intuition-led in my leadership, and I then back it up with data and test things, but I am very conviction-based.
Right. So would you decide on something on conviction if the data didn't support it?
Ooh, I will test things based on conviction. Right. And then if the data doesn't support it, I'll shift. But I will test things.
Have you ever made a decision based purely on conviction and it was successful?
I guess the whole brand.
So data secondary.
Yeah, definitely. I've had
That's
data
common.
to back it, but I've had also I've tried products out of conviction that didn't work and I discontinued them.
Right.
So, but I've had both.
I mean, it's a common theme with
Yeah.
a lot of entrepreneurship. It's not always rational or logical, but it's
It's
somehow,
very irrational to
yeah,
go and start your own company from scratch,
yeah.
but I think that's why you do it.
It's because you're a female leader. You're irrational. Won't be in the podcast, but we'll cut the laughing. John, you're so funny. But diving a little bit deeper into this, because I just want to get those like little
Okay.
nuggets of like,
Sure.
we talked about the pharmaceutical industry. It's a very capitalist, profit maximization kind of business. You would say it's sort of a masculine system. Again, not to go too much the gender-based
Yeah.
issues here, but you're a female founder
Mhm.
going into very sort of masculine-based industry. How are you sort of forging a new path, or what do you think needs to change?
I actually think, like I said, I started the company still with a lot of programming, cultural witnessing, etc., of how things should be done. And I think that the world does need a lot more female leaders leading as women, as female. Oh, let me rephrase that. The
What you said as a female? No, we can't
I
have
can't
that.
say that. I okay, so I do believe that the world needs feminine leaders because I think what is unique to the feminine, and we all have both masculine and feminine, but what is unique to the feminine and makes the feminine extremely good leaders is this devotion to their cause combined with a highly caring, nurturing side. Because to lead people, you need to care about people. And so I think what makes an exceptional leader is the ability to execute fearlessly while caring about the people. That makes an exceptional leader, and that is a very feminine trait. I think what hasn't been done very well is it's been a patriarchal society, so a lot of women, in order to succeed, lead within their masculine, but actually their strength lies in their feminine and is what the world needs. And that's what I've softened into in my leadership.
Beautiful answer. How are you using AI in both your formulation, perhaps, and also running your business?
It's a good question. In my formulations, I don't use AI. I still use, Google Scholars to research my ingredients that I want to use and do my own testings in my lab myself. In other ways, I think that when I discovered AI, I kind of got addicted and I was like running everything through AI. And then I started noticing that it's overused and you actually can spot the AI language everywhere. And I started noticing even, on social media, the captions on LinkedIn, the posts, the articles that I'm reading, I can see the AI language. And it actually made me sad because I miss the particularity of certain people's voice that I liked. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And I started feeling like I would lose my creativity because I think a lot of your learning is by writing things imperfectly, but spending time trying to rephrase it, correct it, edit it, and you get better by doing the doing. And to try to bypass actually hinders your creativity. So while I used it a lot, I use it less. And then I think it's really good to use it as a tool for things that waste a lot of time. A lot of like reviewing legal documents, etc. Like I'll just go through ChatGPT, and something that used to take me 10 hours takes me minutes. So I still think there's a lot of value in using it, but it shouldn't be for creativity.
Interesting. Right, we're going to go into the final rapid fire
Okay.
questions. So it's just, the first one is, what's one product you can't live without?
I really can't live without my balm because I do get a lot of aches and pains. And so I like to use it to like scan my own body for areas of tension, release it with it. And it's super clean and effective. I even use it as a moisturizer, as a lip balm. I use it all the time. So I love it.
Do you get good discounts for your friends?
Sure.
Just kidding. Favorite book or podcast that's changed your thinking?
Um, I liked reading Shoe Dog, because it made me feel less alone as an entrepreneur. And I think even a nice reminder that even like huge, big legacy brand had a founder that was in the chaos and in the mess. And it was really, really nice to read that book. Um, Other than that, it's more a person actually that changed a lot of my philosophy. My ex, his name's Alex. He is a founder and he's founded another company before that, no external funding, and has done it all himself.
Mm.
And he had such a different approach to building. And I think he's really challenged my notion of things need to be hard. And maybe things don't have to be so hard. And maybe they're so hard because you believe that they have to be hard.
Mm.
And I think things have been a lot easier and smoother since I've let go of building a company has to be hard idea.
Do you buy into this idea of manifestation?
It's just so overused as a term now that it's tricky, but I do believe that it's good to have a vision towards what you want to go because it will enable you to see the opportunities to line them all up to go towards your goal. But I think if you're just going to have a goal and sit back, it's not going to do anything. It's about having a goal and then executing. Then you got to go for it. But if you're just going to manifest from your bedroom, nothing's going to happen.
Damn it. So we talked about doing it the hard way. What's been the one lesson you've learned the hard way and haven't repeated again?
Well, I think it's what I already told you. If you get your self-worth from external validations, you will burn out. Your self-worth needs to come from yourself.
If WholyMe had a mantra, what would it be?
Gentle care, powerful relief.
Good one. Is that your brand tag? Is that your tagline?
Should be.
Should be. That's really good. Okay, 3 top tips for being a founder in this space. Like I can make it easy if you like. How do you get inspired? Yeah.
I would say find your believers. It's hard, and when someone believes in you and the times that you don't believe in yourself, it will give you wings. So find the people that believe in you to have by your side. Do your work, growing and understanding your limiting beliefs, your patterns, your programming will really help you achieve what it is you want to achieve or manifest what you want to manifest, because often our subconscious is driving our decisions, and unless you can raise your awareness, you will be limited and unable to achieve your dreams. And just start, because the path will become clear on the path, but you need to start.
I wanted to sort of maybe end on a little bit controversial for founders.
Sure.
You know, us growing up, being a founder was the cool, it's one of the coolest things, like being a rock star, being a founder. Is being a founder all that it's cut out to be? And is it really providing you what you're searching for?
Look, the reality is that I started WholyMe for something that feels bigger than myself. And it's really a mission that is beyond me, and that drives me in the hard times. I think if you're doing it for a lifestyle, for some people it works. But I think that no matter what, it is hard to bring something to the world from an idea. And if you're only doing it for the glam and the freedom and the lifestyle, it's challenging. I know a lot of people have succeeded in it, so it's it can work, but in my experience, it is hard. And if you're doing it because you feel like you are in service of something bigger, then it is so much more rewarding than you could ever imagine. And it doesn't feel like hard work. It feels like service.
Always doing something bigger than yourself is always the thing that will pull you through in the hard times.
Exactly.
And then maybe just to finish it off then, like in times of, distress for you, what do you turn to? I mean, you mentioned that for those around you but what is it that sort of rekindles that fire for you? Or, I mean, we talked about doing inner work, inner healing before. Is there anything significant there?
It's really, really important for me to have my self-care practices. Like they really ground me, they really fill up my cup and shape how I show up in the day. So I know that when I don't do my routines, then I show up differently. So even for my team and for everybody else, I have to do my morning routines. So they're critical.
Which is?
My morning routine. I journal, meditate, stretch, do Melissa Wood Health. I love her workouts, and I've done like more intensive workouts in the past, like an hour long, etc. I find that really hard to stick to, and Melissa's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes even. There's programs that works for everything, and it's super gentle, and I find actually my body has never felt fitter and better than sticking to her workout. So I love her workouts. Yeah, I do like dry brush. I use my balm, and I already said meditate, and I meditate after. And that for me is super nourishing.
That's what, a good 1-2 hours?
An hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then that really fills me up for the way I show up for everything in my life. And again, I will say, having people that believe in you will give you wings. And I have one person in my life who's an investor and my best friend and my guardian angel, and he has believed in me like no one has ever believed in me in my life, and it's given me wings because I was like, whatever it is you see in me must exist, and I want to be that. And so I think finding your believers and thanking them is critical.
That's beautiful, Andy. I was going to ask one more thing. We don't have to go there, but is it difficult that your ex is also one of your inspirations?
That was not. Oh, sorry. I thought my best friend. Is it difficult? Say the question again.
Is it difficult that you cited your ex as one of your sort of inspirations in business? Is that painful?
No, I'm super grateful. I mean, I think it's wonderful that I've had an experience that has shaped me profoundly, not just in love, but also as a founder. And so, how wonderful that you've been intimate and deep with someone and it has marked you in a meaningful way. I think the contrary would be sad. If someone has left no impact on you, then I think that's sad. But the fact that he has it just means that it was a profound time and meaningful, and that's wonderful.
Thanks, Celine. You've been amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. And I mean, your brand is so aligned with your personal brand. It's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving your time and wisdom to our listeners today. And for all of you who are interested, of course, you can go and get WholyMe in the stores in the UK. If you're outside of the UK, how do they get your brand?
On the website, as well, on WholyMe.com. We're also available on Amazon in different markets. And I'm sure we'll be in different markets soon as well.
Yay! Awesome. Thanks so much, Celine.
Thank you, Sean. This has been really, really deep.
It's been holy.
It's been holy.